joining us on Zoom. We'll see, hopefully. We are live with Bnei Akiva. Well, Bnei Akiva. We are speaking English today. So, whoever has a hard time understanding me, either because of my English accent or because of my way of speaking, is a little bit, different. Yeah, exactly. And I'm proud of my flow. Like, I think I have what to offer you guys. So hopefully I'm not going to waste any of your time. You're going to come out with something. You feel that, guys? You've come out with something each session? You've got some confidence? Okay, good.
Where's the usual at?
Yeah. What'd you say?
Where's your Jordan?
Oh, my Jordan, I switched it for the Nike tick. Strymel, that's... You got to come to Frat, come to Shirat David. Join us. I'm the only Strymel there, I'll be honest. I wasn't going to bring that up, but you did it. Okay, so we're going to be today all in. That's what we're talking about. Going all in. The class is not just because it's something interesting to talk about, because it's so relevant and it's so real right now for all of us. Everyone is being challenged, in the whole world. Our people, specifically the Jewish people, and even more so young teenagers, or you're actually more older teenagers in Bnei Akiva, in Eretz Yisrael, Migdal Oz. Even the news, the current news is it's intense. Everyone's feeling it a little bit. And in order to go through this time period and get the most out of it, one of the most important concepts that I've ever heard or experienced is the idea of being all in. Anyone familiar? Anyone heard of the concept of being all in? Like Me'er Chuz in Eretz Yisrael? You know what I'm talking about? I mean, there's different ways of approaching it. We can approach it on a mindful level, of being in present with the current situation and being totally there. Or we can approach it on a more practical level, give tools, which I think we will. The idea of how to get to this focused way of being that you can really tune into what you're here for at this moment, why you've been chosen. 2023, Bnei Akiva, you're at this time in history with the most historical moment for Israel, where there's never been such a tragedy since the Holocaust. This is significant. This is very intense and very real. And we're all experiencing and we're all feeling it on some level. Personally, my journey for the boys, I'm not going to repeat too much, so I'm going to... That's all great. You're amazing. That's all good. I love the beeping. So listen, honestly, nothing's going to distract me from giving over because I'm all in. Yeah, I'm doing it. When I was asked to join Bnei Akiva by Shmuel Fly, my whole thing was to be all in, to come here. And if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it fully. And even if it's only an hour a week or 2 hours or whenever, I want to make the most of your time and my time and the school's time, the program's time. I'll tell you something, coming from London, growing up secular, I grew up secular. The guys know a little bit about my history because we've been going through some intimacy sessions. We're not going to go into that topic together because I don't think it's appropriate. I don't think the program thinks it would be appropriate to do that together. But the boys have already had a few sessions and they heard on the first one, and I did put the audio around the guys about my journey, my personal journey. I don't know if it's relevant to share because some of the stuff is for the boys specifically. So I'm just going to go over a little bit, being from London, secular, not involved in Israel other than the JNF sending some money for some trees once in a while and hearing a little bit about the news and what's going on in Israel, but it always felt very far away. And I actually didn't visit Israel until I was 16, until I came. I don't know if you've heard of tour? Some of the English guys know what tour is. I don't know if they call it that in America, I don't think they do, but it's like a program that comes for more than a month in the summer for all the age group between 15 and 16. Most people are 16 by that point, because it's summertime. And I came on Halbanim. That was my first ever visit to Israel. So that put a lot of context. My life was in London or in Europe or wherever fancy destination I ended up in for holiday. And Israel, unfortunately, wasn't the chosen place by my family at that time. So it wasn't like the holiday destination. It was more like Spain. I didn't really know what was going on here. And when I started hearing about, bit by bit, as time went on, the Holy Land, especially as your brain starts to mature, and that's where you guys are at. You're at a more like matured level where you understand what's going on a little bit, and more than I did at that age, 16. I'm not going to say all the jokes because I'm in front of the program here, but I was, on tour. I wasn't exactly like the most, let's say, spiritually focused guy. I was having a good time, and and you can all work out what that means. And I didn't look like this, obviously. Also, I was a little bit more young and hopefully in better shape. Now, so at 16, that was the tour experience. I came to Israel. I came to Jerusalem. First time I've ever been to Jerusalem in my life. I went to kibbutz. We picked tomatoes. If you guys have done that yet, you've done the kibbutz experience. No.
Yeah, we learned all the
Lettuce, more lettuce.
Learn more lettuce? Yeah. I like that. So I was doing the tomatoes and some other things as well. And experiencing it, so that way it was a peaceful time and the security was pretty normal. Like even flying, remember this is before 9/11, so security going on a plane was a different experience. I remember, I'll be honest, I traveled once to Miami and I bought some, actually it was Disney. It was like somewhere in Florida, but maybe it was New York, maybe it was Orlando actually, because we were near Disney World. And I stayed by my friend for Xmas because that's what we thought. And I was able to get through the airline. Please forgive me, but I was able to get weed through the airline. That's how low security was. Yeah. And I even had a stop off on the way in Chicago. Nowadays, you can't. One, I would never recommend it anyway. But I'm just saying, it's a different world. Security, everything is on a whole different level. So I came here then in 1996. Then I came back 1998, and that was during my beginning of university. Now you have to understand that I was having an awakening, and it began, I believe, on tour. I believe once I came to Eretz Yisrael, it planted seeds in me, even though I wasn't developed yet fully to understand it, but it planted seeds being here that really affected me. Like we're going to discuss this about the idea of the Parsha right now. We're going to do a little bit of Torah connection as well. Avram Avinu coming to Eretz Yisrael. We're going to talk about it, but for me personally, it really impacted. I don't know if you've had that moment yet. You've been here now, how long? A few months?
2 months.
2 months? That's more than I was when I was 16. And you're older, and you've maybe had loads of time here. Maybe some of you even live here. So when you live here, so maybe you don't feel it as much, but when it's coming from secular London to Eretz Yisrael, even secular as I was, and the program was not religious at all, but there was something that went inside me that I felt I needed to return back to Eretz Yisrael, and I did when I was 18 during university, and it was a game changer. Like it changed my life. That 18-year-old trip, which is where you guys are, I believe that's your age, and I felt at that moment in Eretz Yisrael there was a flow. Like things weren't just whatever. Like it will connect to where we are now, right now, spiritually, and also practically with the war going on. There was a flow. It's very comforting when you feel that flow. It's not just happen chance, not whatever. Like when you feel whatever, you feel a bit lost. But when you feel that life's flowing, there's some sort of mission, something purposeful. So one of the things I mentioned to the guys here, and this is important to get some practical ideas. I made a choice to be all in at that time, around 18, 19. That's pretty young. And then what that meant is I decided to leave London, to move from London to Israel. I was in university, I finished my first year, and I came by the summer after that first visit. I came back Pesach for another month, and then I said, that's it, I'm all in. By Elul, by August, September, I was already all in. I came with my best friend, and little did I know, but I also came with my wife-to-be. I didn't know she'd be on the same plane, and she'd be going to seminary, I went to yeshiva, but we both came at the same time, and I was, best friends with her brother, and we went to the same yeshiva, twin brother, and so I already had, on that beginning stage, my soulmate. Everything was like set up for me. I just needed to be open to it. And I came to Israel, and by 21 I was already married. It's pretty young, yeah? And you have to understand, I'm coming from secular London. Not one of my friends got married at 21. Nobody. I don't care how connected they were, relationships. If someone out there is, from my past, from North London scene, would correct me, but I really don't think there was anyone who got married that young. And most people wait until after university, etc. And majority of the people of my friends, my crew was age 30. So I made a decision when I came to Israel that I'm going to be all in. I'm leaving London. By that point, I already told the boys I was running nightclubs. I was in a good university. I had a very good social scene, pumping. Once again, if anyone wants any proof of where I was at, you can ask my wife, my soulmate, because she was there then. It wasn't like this is like my... Yeah. It wasn't like this was my own journey. I had someone who was with me in that time. We were best friends already. And as a girl, she was my best friend. And thank God we were platonic then, but it became later on, by the age of 21, more. But I was all in. And so was she on some level. And so was my wife's twin brother. And we decided that's it. We're moving to Israel. My parents were like, you need to go to a therapist. What are you doing? You've got this sorted life in London. They took me to rabbis, famous Saatchi rabbi, who was very close with Shlomo Kleibach back in the day, very together peoples. And they said to me, what are you doing? Even the rabbi of the program that I joined at that time said to me, you've got to listen to your parents. You've got college, university, you've got to get a degree, there's a process. But I knew I needed to go all in. I'm just giving you background for me personally, how much of a choice I made to be all in. I'm not saying anyone should follow this path. No, I don't believe in invitation. Everyone's got to go on their own journey. But for me at that time, the only way I could really ground myself in my heritage and be in the Holy Land, as you have on the wall there, Jewish peoplehood, and a formed active sense of belonging to Jewish people. The only way I was going to get to that was to come to Israel. That's the only place I felt I'd really get it. And you guys are getting it. So you're here. You're already here, and you might not even have to have given up as much as some others to be here. Maybe some of you did. Maybe it was really difficult for many reasons, financially, emotionally. But then what happened? Came this war, and all of you said, whether you live here or not, you're going to stick it out. Because even living here is a challenge. Yeah, I know that. I'm here now 20-something years, 25 years. And I do have a get-out clause. I have family in London. I have businesses. I have things I could do. But I've always said, no, this is my home. This is where I need to be. And this is how I'm going to become the best me I can be. And that's being all in. That's an example, me personally. Getting married young for me was being all in. Because marriage is about being all in. I was just listening to a very cool podcaster that I'm actually friends with, a guy called Zubi. I don't know if anyone's heard of him. He actually he's a funny character. He got a record for lifting up the most amount of weight as a woman. So how did he do that? He identified himself as a woman, and then he bench pressed the biggest record for a woman ever got. And he became... This is a guy called Zubi, yeah? And he became famous. He ended up in Joe Rogan. And I got in touch with him, and he actually emailed back, would you believe? And every time we're in touch. And he just had a podcast today that I was listening to with a cool, Gen Z writer. And they were discussing marriage nowadays. And they were saying, really, we're not going into the intimacy thing, but just to touch on it for a moment. We'll discuss it more tomorrow, boys. But the idea of being all in, a relationship has to really be all in. I'm married now 22 years almost, yeah, this Hanukkah. So I hope I've been all in. It's like it's not like I'm thinking in the back of my mind there's other options, or like the world makes you think that way, that you've got all these apps and this ability to see other people's lives, so maybe it'll be better over there. No, I'm all in. And with all that noise going on online, I'm still all in. It doesn't make a difference. So with the war right now, for all you guys, now this is where you're going to have to give me some feedback. I believe all of you are now all in. Is that right? I said that before, but I'm saying it again. Are you all in? You're here. I'm sure you've got people saying, are you okay? Yeah, I've got a lot of messages. And I'm talking about even on the Shabbat, the Saturday, the whole terrible thing on October the 7th happened. Tragedy, Mum, you can't even say it, it's beyond words. What happened? I was getting messages and phone calls that whole day because I had left my phone by accident. My wife had not. I'd left it on, and I saw just message, like the phone was going nuts. And then my wife turned hers on because that's what we were told to do, and she was also getting it. And the whole world was phoning and messaging, and it's been till now. Still, I'm still getting messages. I have heard from people that I haven't seen for years in person, and they're messaging me now. And people have questions. Yes.
So someone's asking about the Zoom link. Is it the one you sent me before?
Yeah.
Is there someone connected in?
Yes. No, there isn't. Let me try a different one. Could be the second one got sent, so we'll go into that. We shall see. Good old Zoom. Okay. No, there's no one in either. So I sent both links. Okay. So with the Zoom, I don't know what to say. There's a second one. There's a backup link. Yeah.
I got one for me. Someone's just saying it says the host has another meeting in progress.
Okay. So.
Maybe send me the second one?
Yeah, the second one. I think I did send it to you.
I have one.
Okay. Let me send it to you. Okay, that's why I always do backups, because you never know. And that's also why I recorded this as well, so they can catch up. I'm that kind of guy. You got it? Amazing. Okay, so I'm going to go into that chat. Now listen, I was just saying how the phones aren't going to get me, but they got me. What can you do? Okay, I see people there. Woo! Okay. Welcome, Zoom people. Okay, she's coming. Okay, so now, yeah, guys, remember we're going to record this so you guys can pick it up on the boys' chat. It'll be there. What I want to get you to now, after mentioning Zubi and his chat today of being all in, is I want to get you to the next point there. Let's talk about Avraham Avinu. We all have ancestry. Yeah, all of us. Every Jew has an ancestor. And even I've worked with many famous musicians, and many of them are Gerim, are converts. Like Nissim Black, if any of you heard of him. And he is Nissim Baruch ben Avram. He's also from Avram. And he's also from Sarah. He's also got our ancestry by converting. He joins into our people and becomes part of that. So, and I've worked with many Gerim like that, in music and other things, and as speakers as well. So, a lot of those Gerim, those converts, they're all in. And if you want to hear Avraham Avinu's story, it says in the Gemara, in the Talmud, he was all in. It says that in Rashi. It says he gave his whole heart over, like his etzim, like his being, his inner being, over to this path. And this is something which is like we all inherit. We inherit the ability to be all in from Avraham Avinu. We start thinking back into what our tradition is. It's always been that way. Think about it historically. Think about all the different tragedies, all the different struggles our people have gone through. Yeah, the fact that we even exist. Have you ever heard of Mark Twain? Anyone here heard of Mark Twain?
Yeah.
What did he say about us? Anyone know? Huh? Anyone knows the famous quote about the Jewish people? This is a quote you should look up. Google it. Someone get it on Google now. so I don't botch it up. Mark Twain. What do you say about the Jewish people? Mark Twain, a famous American writer, traveled to the world, wrote about the Jewish people, and it's a famous. He's actually got a lot on the Jewish people, but the most famous quote.
He has a lot of quotes.
Well, the most famous quote is.
Concerning the Jews.
Yeah, what do you say? Go on.
What?
Read it.
No, it was. He used them as scapegoats, the Jews.
Okay.
And this.
You got something more positive here?
The Jews sold them all, beat them all, and now it is now.
Say it loud so everyone can hear. Go on. It's a good one.
The Jews sold them all, beat them all, and is now what he always was, exhibiting no descendants, no infirmities of age, no weakening of his parts, no slowing of his energies, no dulling of his alert and adjusted mind. All things are mortal, but the Jew, all the forces pass, but he remains.
Okay, beautiful. So that's miraculous, guys. That's like, wow. And that's not coming from our people. He wasn't Jewish. He wrote that about us. He was like, wow, these people are awesome, unbelievable. Now, obviously, if you're looking online, you're not going to feel, unless you've got your, which I've tried work very hard to do, that you've filtered out your feeds, that it should be what's going to be encouraging and positive and help you go ahead. But at the same time, you are going to encounter a lot of negativity online about our people, no matter what. Because either someone you follow is becoming negative about us, or you're following someone who's fighting that negativity by quoting it, which is, you can do it either way. Yeah? So, we are up right now against the world on a certain level. Not the whole world, thank God. Yeah, and often the small voice that's very negative makes itself seem very big. It's very important to know that it's often a minority voice. The majority of people, thank God, are generally good, and they're not going to be against us, thank God. So we have a lot of encouragement, but either way, we're going to have to realize right now, to be all in is the only way to go forward. And that's something new for our generation, because on a certain level, we've been in a more comfort space. Like I said, when I grew up, life was good. Israel, we heard a little bit about a few wars that had gone on, but it wasn't like, as a North London Jew, going to make me nervous for being Jewish. Now, I did encounter anti-Semitism on campus, and I did encounter even growing up in London. I did, even as a kid. And I even got beaten up for it. Yeah? But all that did for me personally, rather than make me scared, like, I don't know if you heard of Rudy Rochman. He's one of my guys. Yeah, he's been all over the news channels recently. You heard of Rudy? He's an activist. So he's one of my guys I help. He said at a certain age he became fearless. He certain realized that, like, I don't know how, he's unusual in this, but he became fearless about this whole issue with anti-Semitism. That's why he went into Columbus University. He went to the most anti-Semitic university there is, and went in there and took it on full on. And that's why I'm trying to organize tours to get him into universities or communities so that he can empower those people. Right now, he's in a war. So how's he doing it? Through news, through CNN, Fox, any major news channel. That's where he's at right now, the last 2 weeks. Ben Shapiro show, he was just on it. There's a long list of where he's featured this last few weeks. So he's a voice that's very strong. He doesn't have that fear that most of us would naturally have. And having that fear, I just learned about it this week in Rav Shlomo Katz's community in Shirat David. Having that fear is very normal, very human. Having fear is a human reality, and you shouldn't be hard on yourself if you're feeling a little bit like fearful. Yeah, it's real. What's going on is real stuff. But there's different ways to approach the fear. I want to just say, I want to give over. My son, he's in the army. Yeah, it's important. He's in the army. He's a boy. He's growing up. It's an interesting story, his journey, and I won't say the whole thing because it's up to him to tell his own story. But as a father, he grew up very Hasidic, went to very Hasidic schools. I put my kids I went all into the religious world, Hasidic world. He grew up speaking Yiddish and Hebrew and English. And at some point he made his own choice to go on his journey, and I had to be supportive, just like my parents on some level, even though secular as they were supportive of my choice to come to Israel. I was supportive of his, and he ended up in a program where a lot of the kids had records, like criminal records, tough kids, but they really did a good job and it helped him get into the army. And he went to a special unit called Havar HaShomer. Havar HaShomer, there's 400 boys there. This program is tough. Out of the 400 boys, only around 4 or 5 ended up being in San Chanim. Most of them, they're all great boys, they've all done very well, but they ended up as jobniks. Like, he was the top of that program. And then he went into San Chanim, and out of those 4 or 5 boys, he's the only one left who's in San Chanim from Havar HaShomer, from 400 boys. It's my son. Very proud of it. Yeah, San Chanim is the paratroopers. Yeah? And now he's training the last few weeks. Firstly, he was up on the border. I can't say too much because it's obviously private information, but he was up on the border, and security reasons obviously, but he was up on the border and he was guarding a base until the other newer San Chanim came, and Miluim, the reservists came, other paratroopers came, and they were there for almost a week, and they were shooting down drones the whole time. That was one of the things they were doing. And there was, unfortunately, terrorists trying to get in. Then he was pulled down to all the way. He came down south to Azov just before, a week before Shabbat, like in terms of a week ago before Shabbat. And he came, and Shabbat he had to get his tent ready, and he's in a special area where they're training to go into the tunnels. Now, part of the training going tunnels is also psychologists, psychotherapy. And they're telling them it's a 50-50 chance. They're being straight with him. 50-50. He's 19 years old, guys. I thought I was all in choosing Eretz Yisrael. It's 50-50 in his unit if they go into the tunnels. Now comes the previous Shabbat, the last phone call before he's going in. They were going in this Shabbat. That was what they were told. What happened? There was hostages released. I don't know exactly strategic what exactly went on. They needed to work more on bombing, or whatever the strategy was between the hostages and the bombing. They decided to delay. So now what's he doing? He's in an abandoned building. I can't give the location, and he can't give me full details to me also. But they're doing now training in the building, because there's going to be other aspects. It's not just going to be tunnels, it's going to be buildings. He hasn't been told exactly when, but it's with that awareness that it's going to be very dangerous going into Gaza. Yeah? Already 4 or 5, I think 5 now, unfortunately, boys from his unit have been killed in he wasn't with at the beginning. And one when he joined his unit, unfortunately, during that time, because there have been some missions that they've been doing. This is really intense. I'm not trying to scare anyone, just talking about my personal situation with my son. I was living in London. My brothers are in London. My daughter's there visiting right now. And they're not experiencing this. They're not experiencing the sirens. They're not experiencing the war. They're hearing about it. They're feeling it on some level. They're going through media channels, how to process it. They're speaking to people like myself. Hopefully their community, the shuls, the synagogues are doing something. Yeah? And it's intense for them on some level, and they're hearing, unfortunately, about the rise in anti-Semitism. I was on an actual podcast called The Campaign Against Anti-Semitism. I don't know if any of you ever heard of it. It's an English organisation. And they have hosted a bunch of my people, like Rudy Rochman, Moshe Rubin, he has like 2 million followers on Instagram, Westside Gravy, who works for Stand With Us, Shlomi Zion. These are all people I put on their podcast, and then they asked me to come on as well. And I'm following their feed, and it's real stuff going on. Like they're dealing with hands-on. They're dealing with fighting the BBC's anti-Semitism. That's very obvious. They're dealing with, so they're all in. This organisation is all in. My son is all in. People have asked us, do you want to send any of your kids back home? Just for like a holiday or whatever, to chill. So my daughter had already booked her flights way before this. She'd already booked her flights. So I said to her, go. You need it, but you're not staying. You're coming home. I just confirmed today her flight back, because Alan messaged me and said, we need to know the numbers, who's coming back, who's not, who wants to stay in London. if this flight's really going to get full. So I pressed yes. Well, she's coming. She's going to be on this plane back. So her plan is to be back in Eretz Yisrael by the end of the week. And I'm not planning on sending any of my kids to London. Like, that's not an option. We're here as a family. Even Nissan Black, my artist, we had a tour with Hafta and a bunch of other programs. We had to cancel the tour. That's not easy when you're running, music business stuff. You need to fulfill your engagements. We cancelled the whole tour. Why? Because he's all in this thing. He doesn't want to leave his family here without him. How can he do that? There's been sirens going off the whole time in Beit Shemesh. He's not going to leave his family to go do a tour. So the program understood, and they're praying for us. And the president there even contacted me from the program and said he wants to make an event here instead. For all the people that have stayed in Israel from the American seminaries, and he wants to make a program here. So we're in discussion about that right now. About how to make a chizuk, like an inspirational event for all the people that have stuck it out here and didn't run back. Not saying that they're wrong. Everyone's got their personal situation. People on Zoom, all respects. Everyone's got their parents, their anxiety. Everyone's got their personal realities, and everyone has to be real about how all in they can be. But nevertheless, that's the understanding that we are being challenged, all of us, to be all in. That's my message today. Like Avraham Avinu was all in. He built our people by being all in. He gave up everything. He threw himself in the fire for his mission in life. He was willing to the point in the 10th test that he went through to give up his legacy. Yitzhak Avinu. Yeah? We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Avraham Avinu. We wouldn't be here for his determination to represent and build our people. And that goes through all the generations. We've all got ancestors. Every single person has an ancestor who was all in. There was opportunities to convert, opportunities to have power in the Christian church, for example, or have power in business and give up Shabbat or give up connection to your Jewish heritage, or to intermarry. We all come from somewhere where that was challenged, and we have ancestors who said, no, I'm all in. I'm all in with our people. One of the things we've discussed with the boys, and this is now give you some practical tips. We spoke first about being proactive. That was when I went through my whole journey and relationships, connecting. Go out of your way to create positive relationships with people. That's a proactive trait. That's very much in tune with Avraham Avinu's light of kindness and welcoming people. Yeah, choosing good, choosing kindness. The second thing we discussed, and we've been going now 2 sessions on that, and we're going to actually go to the next stage. We'll discuss that in a moment. But we've been discussing end in mind, having a mission statement. That is what you've got on the wall here, and I'm happy we're in this classroom this time, because that is important, to know why you're in Bnei Akiva. What are you trying to achieve? And is this class helping get you a step closer? Informed, active sense of belonging to Jewish people. I think so. Being all in makes sense. That's what we're discussing. That's the mission statement of Bnei Akiva, but each of you have to figure out your own mission statement. So I'm giving you 2 points. First, be proactive. Start choosing good in your life more and more. How you can get involved in helping the current situation. That is our situation. All of us can give a little bit, what the program allows. If they create chesed opportunities, get involved. If you want to get involved with the Efrat community, and it's with the permission of the program, I'm here. There's a whole beautiful community in Efrat, or other places around here. Then there's end in mind, mission statement. Having goals, having dreams, having values. Yeah? Wanting to know, what am I here for? So all of you, let me ask you, has any of you written down ever what you want to do in life? Have you written it down? It's really powerful, not just to think about it, but to write it down. Has anyone here done that? Has anyone? Funny enough, next to me it says love. Okay, someone wrote down here love. So everyone on some level has written down some dream, some goal, some value. Yeah? Anyone here?
We have a lesson with the Mechina was to write things we want to achieve.
Okay, good. So you have a goal for this year, for this program.
Yeah.
That's really important because that's where you're at now. Yeah, that's great. Well, I would recommend also try to figure out personally what you think not only you can offer this program, but how's it going to reflect on your later on in life. And obviously you're going to change this as time goes on. And you can review it. But once you have it written down, you now can develop it. It's like anything. You planted a seed and now you can build on it. So you start building bit by bit. When I was your age, I was already writing poems, I was writing songs. I even have an album online called Together. I wrote it in 1998, 99, when I was 18, 19, because I was born 1980. And I have an album online. And in that album, I've been listening to it recently. I only put it out, I only actually recorded it 2001. And I only put it out on Spotify, because, we didn't have Spotify. But I only put it out on Spotify like 2020, during the Corona story. Because Corona, you had plenty of time to do all this kind of writing down poetry. And I even put out a few albums, like collab albums. It's a great time. Right now maybe you're not going around as much on Tiolim, so this is a time to develop this kind of stuff. Poetry, creative aspects, doing stuff together as friends. I remember this moment I was sitting with my wife. She wasn't my wife then. It was a park in London, in Elstree, a place called Elstree. Funny enough, Elstree, which is my name's Ellie. And we're sitting underneath a tree, funny enough. Yeah? And I was sitting there, and I looked at this young lady who was becoming very close, and I said to her, I feel this intense feeling, and she felt it as well, like we have been together in another life, like we were relatives, or we had a very important relationship, and she felt exactly the same feeling. It was like a moment, and it took over us at that moment, just sitting on. What we were doing on it, we were writing poetry at that time. I was writing songs, lyrics for my album and stuff. She was an artist, she was drawing. We're being creative, and we just had that moment of connection. We were only 18, I think. And there was no physical, it was just this moment of clarity. There's something deep about our relationship. And it continued on till we got married 21. So, as I said, not everyone's going to get that gift. I was very fortunate to have found that at such a young age and still have it, thank God. But one, you can pray for it, but two, but I would say the more you are engaged in that all-in approach, where you are real about relationships with people and real about moments in time like this right now, war, like you're tuning into this difficult time, and hopefully it should be over soon, only for good, for victory and for success. All our soldiers should be successful. Everything we're doing here is to dedicate to all those people. They should be successful, and all the hostages should return. We've got to keep that in mind. But you can get something out of this time special, all of you. Unique. And when you get that moment with that person that can be the one, your soulmate, as we'll talk about in intimacy, you now all in. You have a relationship which is all in. And this is something which is really hard for our generation, especially with the way internet's training us, like to think in terms of the shorts, TikTok, reels, mindset of moving on to the next thing. It's very hard, even probably for all of you to even focus this amount of time. Yeah, it's hard for us to be all in it, even to just listen to something. So I hear that, it's hard. And we're being mentally trained to not think in a long-term way. Me personally, I love the long-form podcasts. I don't know if you guys do. I'm totally into long-form, because then you get to hear a real discussion and you really get to journey with those people. But from what I've seen from my own kids, short form is where it's at. And everyone's just flying from one thing to the next. So it's very difficult in that reality of how you're training your mind to process stuff, to be totally focused and all in. But that's why it's important, if you do make time, like Shabbat, disconnect to reconnect, or you do make time, and this is going to be my next point, which I'm going to bring tomorrow to the boys, and we're going to bring it into the intimacy discussion. And you see, I'm already hinting at a little bit. But we're going to talk about how to prioritize, how to really focus in on the moment, in your schedule, in your time in Israel, how to really make the most of this experience so that you gain the most out of your gift of being at a historical moment in the Holy Land, and you can contribute to, as part of that history. We're all contributing right now, all of us, by being here. We're showing solidarity. Yeah, we are ambassadors. As I spoke to the boys the other day, all of you are ambassadors to your people outside of Israel. Everyone's seeing your posts. People see. You have your circle of influence. You have your status. You have your feeds. Everyone here is influencers in your own way. You have your family, your friends, your cousins. You're all influencers. And you can now be ambassadors to share a message of hope, and hopefully feeling that we will get through this as a people just like we've got through everything. Just like Mark Twain wrote, we will come out on the good side. Once again, I wasn't a Jewish author. The non-Jewish people are going to be in awe of how we're going to process this. Ultimately, that's what we're promised, and that's throughout Hallel, and every time we're praying there's a certain awakening of that truth, that we will get through this in the best way. It will come out good, even though it doesn't always feel like that. You know, emotionally, my wife, the Shabbos, just think about it. Your son told you that he's going in, it's 50-50. He didn't leave the message like that, but that was the back of our mind, what we're thinking. So the whole Shabbat, we're thinking, we don't know. We're not going to get updates from him unless, something serious. And so we don't know the whole Shabbat. We're thinking they're going in. Then we find out there was hostage relief Friday night. They didn't go in. Okay, but now we're getting a phone call. Yeah, any minute they're going to take away my phone and we're going to go into Gaza. And so now we have to prepare ourselves again for the next potential. Like, it's difficult, to always, when you're going up and down roller coaster. As teenagers, late teens even, there's a lot of up and down going, a lot of challenges emotionally. I don't know if you guys are feeling it, but I assume you are, especially right now. Like, whatever was challenging when you came first in this program, I'm sure it's been 10x. And also knowing that some of the people had to go. Once again, no judgment on them. But some of the people had to leave. And that's hard when you lose your friends and the program shrinks a little bit. Like, it's hard, But you are here right now. That's the key. To focus in on that you have been all in. You're still here. And you have so much to do right now in this space. And we're doing it together. It's not an alone experience. That's another important comfort. We're not alone on this journey of becoming all in. It's something that the Jewish people are doing universally. It's united souls. It's a universal journey together. We're all going through this together. This historically reminds me. When I was a kid, why did I choose to become Jewish at all? Like in a spiritually awake sense. What was the question? Have you ever had that question? What are you doing here? My question was, why am I Jewish? Simply. After getting smashed in the face a few times, cigarette burnt, mug and David taken, like in the streets of London, why am I Jewish? Why do they keep reminding me I'm Jewish? Why did a kid throw a coin at me and say stingy Jew? Why did my friend get beaten up just for being Jewish? I started to wake up and I wanted to know the answer. And the last thing I was left with from my education in the English system was the Jewish people are the Holocaust. That's what I thought the Jewish people were, the Holocaust. So a famous writer, and Shlomo Katz brought this down today, he said this today in a frat for all the men who've got children in the army and all the different people there and all different Milui and reservists that were in this year. He said to them, and he was quoting someone else, but he said it very strong. He said, I'd rather be a hated Israel than a beloved Auschwitz. You understand what that means? Did you get that quote? That's a strong quote. I'd rather be here in Israel and have these struggles than, God forbid, just give up, We're on a mission. There's a much... We can deal with this. We can process the hatred. We can process the challenges. So, I just want to check where we are time-wise. Okay. So if anyone here has a question, please tell me. Because we've got another 10-15 minutes. So I'm happy to talk about it. Anyone has a question on All In, or my personal journey, or the current situation. I've been thinking a lot about what's going on and talking it out with people. Anyone has a question that's burning and they want to say? Anybody? Welcome. Yes.
When you did
Aliyah was 1990. No, I came to Israel in 1999. I did Aliyah 2001, just after I got married. 2001-2. I officially finished 2002.
And you decided to do Aliyah because you want to be holy?
Yeah, we got married, and I was already living here like I was an Israeli in terms of spiritual, only keeping one day for Yom Tov, all that kind of stuff. And my wife and I, was clear to us that this is our place. So it was just a matter of, because it's really hard to not make Aliyah, to live here without all the paperwork and everything. And even though you're right, I didn't have the education you guys have. I didn't have it. I was missing parts. Honestly, this last year, living in a frat, has filled in gaps for me. I'm 43. I'm still learning now. I'm going to people like Shlomo Katz, who really understands the specialness of living out so much more than many other people. And I'm learning from him now. And I'm learning from the community around me about how much they love Eretz Yisrael, how much they appreciate the army. I was in a more Haredi lifestyle where that side of things was not as focused on. And my kids were also, amazingly, were brought up seemingly in that world, but they somehow have developed outlooks which very much fit the overall Israeli mindset, which is amazing. They did that themselves more than I. Maybe I was very open, and I have lots of guests in my house, and maybe people talk to them, and their social experiences are more open. I wasn't strict, like in terms of who they could connect with, but like they found their way in Eretz Yisrael to the point where my son's, on fire for his mission. Like he said to us, like he's ready to do his mission, and he wants to kill the terrorists. He wants to do his mission as a soldier, which is his focus now. And it's not wrong. You can't say, oh, where's the peace-loving? As Rosh Shlomo said today, I'm a Kohen. I'm from the tribe of peace, blessing. And my tradition goes all the way back, that we're meant to bring peace in the world and love. Ahava and love. So the Rosh Shlomo said today, and he's also a Kohen, Rosh Shlomo Katz, he said today that my son for sure, deep down, wants peace. But in order to get peace, he's going to have to kill these terrorists. And being in an army has to be totally focused on that. Any other questions? Yeah.
Did your parents support all your big changes of decisions?
Yeah, so I don't know if we discussed this in the boys' chat, but I did mention, and I threw it in when I was introducing myself, that they were against it initially, really hard. They wanted me a lawyer. I was running nightclubs. I was living in another world. Like both my brothers in my dad's business, and they've done really well. Older brothers, example of success. I don't know. All the James Bond, any merchandise that exists, they've got the licensing. So, like all the James Bond series, movies, they were at the red carpet and the most recent one, premiere. They did the Olympics. They've had a great journey. Since I left, the stuff they've been involved with in the entertainment world. My daughter would love to meet Harry Styles. Would you like to meet Harry Styles?
Yeah.
No? Yeah? No? Okay, so my brother and my brother's wife have great pictures of Harry Styles because they do the ball every year in UK. Yeah? My dad told me a story when I went back how he had dinner with Elton John and walked out on Elton John. He was just in a documentary about it. And my uncle was just in a documentary with George Michael. He used to go on holiday every year to Portugal. I had a great life, yeah? It was all around me, showbiz, entertainment. I wasn't just giving up like a cushy job and a nice house. Cushy means like easy. I was giving up like a whole lifestyle that most people in the world would dream, like VIP at every event. Yeah, like I just got a news people asked me in London. News people asked me in London, Jewish news. They asked me, they said, would you like to do another Live Aid in Israel? Because I mentioned it to them when they interviewed me last week. And I said, yeah, I want to do a Live Aid in Israel. You know what Live Aid is? Anyone saw Bohemian Rhapsody? Yeah? That was like the climax of the film, Bohemian Rhapsody, yeah? Malek, whatever his name was, Rami Malek was the star, as Freddie Mercury, and it was a climax moment where everyone's together saying, we will rock you. Anyone saw that film? I was there. I was in the row box. Prince Charles and Diana were just a few rows now, King Charles, but just a few rows down from me. I was in that moment as a kid, and I want to do Live Aid for Israel. I want to do an event that brings global unity through music, like what I experienced as a kid. And they did it again, Live Aid. That was not as, in my opinion, not as impactful, but it was very global. And I want to do that for the Jewish people. I want to get our message out to the world in a massive way. That's my dream, my vision. And I think music and creative outlets is one of the ways, inspirational people's one. That's my vision. That's my mission. That's why I'm honoured that you guys brought me here today. So would you say are my parents supportive of what I've done? It's difficult for them overall, but they see that I'm passionate and they see my kids are on a good way, and that the children in a way talk more than my words. You know what I'm saying? Like, when it comes down to it, it's not like they all became fanatical, crazy people that they were worried that I'd become. You understand? they've all become normal, healthy children who are able to interact with society and even become special in society, and they're appreciating that. Okay, any other more questions before we finish up? Anything? Well, does anyone here have any questions about the concept of being all in? Like, have you got, anyone want to tell an example of anyone all in? I mean, there's so many heroes right now who've been all in. Hatzalah, or you just go through the list of heroes in Israel right now who've been all in. There were people who came from the morning that this story happened and they heard on their phone. They weren't even in the army. They were having a normal Yom Tov and they suddenly see on their phone that they're being called up and they hear what's going on. They grab their gun and they drive down to the south. Don't even go to their base. They drive down to the south and start saving people, and killing terrorists. That's all in. No one was there telling them they had to do that. They were told to go to their base. I'm just saying, all of you, have anyone got any questions on what's going on and being all in? It's pretty clear right now what's going on, that this is an all-in moment. Like, we've had our chill, you know. I always remember the summer when everyone came. I was known as the Midnight Rabbi for years. How was I all in as the Midnight Rabbi? I was up for 5 years, all night, every night. Other than Shabbat, all night, every night, especially Thursday night, we forget about it. But I was up all night on the streets of Yerushalayim, especially in town, and I was with the at-risk teenagers with their drug issues and their fighting, and the girl and boy issue, and the whole... That was my program for 5 years. I worked for yeshivas that would pay me to be the Midnight Rabbi. I did it for 5 years. It was hardcore. It was pretty all in for me to do that. Trust me, they didn't pay enough. But I knew, by being with those young people, I was helping them through that time. I got a lot of guys to rehab. I got a lot of guys who never needed rehab, thank God. I got a lot of guys, away from some pretty dangerous situations that they were involved with at that time. This was phones. It was a different vibe back then. It still had computers and DVDs and people watching and doing whatever, but it wasn't like the fast speed you guys are dealing with now. But the point was, that was my time to give to our people when I had the energy and my wife was agreeable, and I gave years of my time for that. And thank God I'm still in touch with many of those people. I went back to London, and thank God a bunch of those guys came to meet with me. So it wasn't like I just wasted my time back then. Like there was relationships. When I landed in Miami, one of those boys came, picked me up, took me out for lunch. And when I landed in New York at 4 a.m, one of those boys, and this boy, he was so disconnected, he didn't know anything about anything Jewish, other than he was in yeshiva somehow for that year before. And now he's working in a restaurant, and I said, I've got to take you to this holy site, because he said, I'll take you wherever, Rabbi. It's 4 a.m. So I took him to the Oil. Anyone heard of the Oil in New York?
Yeah.
So I took him to the Oil. It's a beautiful place there. And he didn't even know what it was. He never even heard of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Chabad, never heard of it. Like, who hasn't heard of Chabad? This guy was way disconnected. Even a year in yeshiva, still hadn't heard of Chabad. So I was like, all right, we got to do this. And thank God I'm still in touch. I see he's married. He lives in Eretz Yisrael. Like, I believe that moment that he came out of his comfort zone and picked me up. We went to the Oil, and he wrote a whole beautiful message. I showed him what to do. Like I say, make a mission statement. He wrote down what he wants from his life, and he gave it as a prayer. The custom is there to rip it up and put it in there. One of the most moving images I saw was hundreds of those papers of all the hostages being put in the... Yeah, putting in the oil. Not ripped up, just put in. As if to say, like, do something about this Rebbe, Obviously, it's going to be in Hashem, God's going to do it, but the Rebbe has a lot of merit. So in your merit, do something about this. Yeah? Get these hostages back. So, this is something we should be thinking about, what can we do? How can we give more awareness of everything going on? And in the end, as we end off this class, and even though there's less of you guys here, but thank God, as I said, I recorded it, so anyone can listen to the audio, you can share it around. The main point is that all of us have the ability to be all in, because it's in our DNA. Avraham Avinu, Sarah Meinu, they implanted it in us. It's part of our destiny, it's part of who we are. We all have that ability, and you're seeing it live right now. Not just me. I'm a small story. I got my own son's doing it, but then all around Israel, people doing it right now. Everyone knows someone who knows someone, or is a brother, a cousin of someone who's all in right now. And in a way, we're all in because we're still here. We're living in the Holy Land and we're making it work. We're helping with this and we're helping with that, and we're part of this process. And that is the key. As Mark Twain says, we will come out on the other side of this, the winners. We will be the victorious in all ways, in every way. And not only that, our victory means victory for humanity, because everyone in the world's going to get it. Because our inner intention is only to do good to humanity. We don't want to kill anyone. We're only doing that because we have to right now. Our inner reality is that we only want to do good for humanity. And that will be our destiny, all of us. And it should be with good health. It should be a blessing. Everyone should find their own unique way to be all in. And with that, we'll see this all come to a good place. Amen. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.